Hey everybody. I'm going to talk to you about some notes that I typed up for you. It's in the email. I think it's November 8th I sent it, and the attachment is called Percent Situation Notes. It's about Chapter 3. The reason I'm making this is because sometimes it's easier to listen to a voice and look at something written than it is just to read it yourself. So maybe if I explain in words and you can hear the sound of my voice, maybe it would help. Okay? But you'll definitely tell me whether it does or not. The point of these notes is to give you an idea about some different situations that happen with percentages and happen in real life. Yeah. So first one I've referenced, and I'll just go from the top to the bottom, is the idea of sales tax. Um, Sales tax is, well, I'll let you read verbatim what's on the actual page. But basically, when a seller sells something and a buyer buys it, a government gets a certain percentage of money based upon the selling price of whatever the product is or the service. And the government sets that percentage. Sometimes it's 5%, sometimes it's 8%, sometimes it's 10%. It just depends on the actual government itself. You get what's called a sales tax, which is the amount of money you pay towards the government. You get that money based upon the selling price times the sales tax percent. Right. So the selling price is 100 francs. The sales tax is 5%. Then you would change 5% to 0.05 or 0.05. You would multiply 100 times 0.05, and you would get 5 francs. Right. So the selling price is 100. That goes to the store, but the 5 francs that is the sales tax, the store collects it, but then gives it eventually to the government. Just to give you an idea about a couple different things, something like the U.S., the United States, their price that's listed does not include the sales tax. So when you get to the counter, you will pay more than the listed price. A place like here where we live, Switzerland, a certain tax is included. And so you pay exactly what you see when you see the product being sold for whatever 8 francs and 50 rappen. You go to the counter and you actually pay that. The sales tax is included. So a couple different ways that stores will post sales tax or not post it. Yeah? So another situation is the idea of signing a discount or finding a sale price of something. A lot of you are very familiar with this if you shop for anything. Most of us like sale prices. But to be very clear, the way you find the amount of discount or how much money you're saving is by taking the percent discount, turning it into a decimal, right, and then multiplying it by the original price or by the selling price. So your sale price is going to be equal to your selling price or the original price subtracted by the amount of discount. Okay, and again, it's the idea you always have to change that percent into a decimal. A third situation would be where you are finding the percent based upon an assessment you have. So this doesn't happen so much with middle school because we don't grade by percentages anymore, right? We have different levels, emerging, proficient, advanced, and excels. But when you get to upper school, and if you go to a different middle school or you go to a different high school, you definitely they say they use percentages sometimes. So that's a pretty basic one. You get your score, right, over the total, whatever the total is, create a proportion out of it, and I'll let you look here a little bit more, but it's pretty straightforward. But proportion is definitely a great way to find your percentage if you're finding one. On to the second page. This is the idea of tipping at a restaurant. So just a little thing about tipping. In places like the UK or places like the USA, tipping is at a restaurant is definitely needed. The amount of money they make per hour that the actual restaurant gives them is very, very low. I think about 4 or 5 years ago, the minimum wage, meaning what someone earned as a waiter or a waitress per hour in the U.S. was about 2 francs 20 rappen. Okay, so someone could work for 8 hours and make about 17, 17 or 18 francs for the day if they did not get any tipping in the U.S. And so obviously they need tips. Some places, like here in Switzerland, tips are not necessarily needed. They're paid by what we call a salary. A salary is a daily or a weekly or a monthly or a yearly wage, something they get paid, and they don't require tips in order to make a living. It's not that they can't use the money, but at the same time, tipping is not necessarily required for them to actually be able to rent their apartment and buy food and live and so forth. Your tipping percentage can be anywhere from 0 to 25%. Having said that, 25% is quite high. I don't think that's people tip at 25% very often. In the U.S., tipping is typically 15%, sometimes 20%, depending. But the idea of tipping is you are giving money to your server based upon their service, how well they attended to you, how nice they are, so forth. A lower percentage is given for a waiter or waitress who you don't feel treated you very well or didn't help you as much as you thought they should. A higher percentage is given to those who give very good service. It's a good system in that waiter and waitresses typically work harder, because if they work harder, they're typically going to get a higher tip, a bigger percentage, or they're going to get more money. So it gives them a lot of incentive to meet your needs and to treat you well, right? There's a couple of, on the actual notes themselves, there's a couple of different boxes, and I give you a couple different examples of things. One of the big things about tipping is you definitely estimate, okay? So, if you and your friends go out and it's like 153 francs and 35 rappen or something like that, use 150 to estimate your tip. You don't go with 153.50. Yeah, I know you can take your phones and geek out, and there's probably an app that gets you exactly what the tip would be if you're somewhere. But again, you look a little silly, right? So, but we'll work on the idea of estimating, right? But you estimate your tip first, okay? Because then you can use some very easy, friendly numbers in order to find what your percentage is for how much you're going to tip, and then you can figure out from there what the actual tip is without having to geek out on your phone a bit. Yeah. Last one I'll refer to is the idea of sales commission. Now, a commission is earning money based upon the job you do. Okay, sales commission is quite specific in that you earn a certain amount of money based upon how much you sell a product for, or how much a service costs. So selling a product is very easy. Someone who sells a car for 20,000 francs, that's the selling of a product. A service that's provided may be something like a plumber coming to your house, or maybe it's a massage therapist or a physical therapist who works for a hospital. You obviously pay the hospital, but the physical therapist may get a certain amount of money every time that person performs that service of physical therapy on someone. Okay, so sales commission isn't just about selling a product. You can perform a service as well. So one thing about sales commission and salary is there are some people who get paid a salary and some people who get paid sales commission. Again, salary is the idea that you get the money regardless of how you work. Okay, so you can have a really bad day and sell absolutely no products, or you can have no customers for your service, and salary-wise, you still get the same amount of money that day. Makes no difference. People who work on sales commission, if they don't sell products, they get no money. Now, sometimes people who work with sales commissions, they also get a certain salary. Okay, because sometimes them not selling a product isn't necessarily their fault. They simply don't have customers that day or something like that. But the idea is that they have to sell a product and actually to earn what's called the commission. I'll give a real simple example of a commission. A product costs 100 francs. The seller, whoever sells it, whoever works for the store or the seller, gets a 20% commission on the product they sell. Okay, so every time you go into C&A or H&M or some other store or whatever, there's a 100 franc pair of jeans, and whoever rings you up and takes your money, that person gets 20% of whatever the selling price is. So the store would then keep 80 francs, and the actual person who helps you would keep 20 francs. That would be a 20% commission. All right. Um, Again, I hope just what I said, maybe you can, obviously read through the notes a little more thorough than what I suggested, but I also give you some information that's not on the notes, but maybe this helped out. Okay? Please let me know if it did. Thanks for listening.